Hey guys, welcome back to Algos Explained. I'm David Kim, and today we're going to go over a code wars problem in JavaScript. And so let's get straight to it. This one's called Master of Files Level 6. Are you a file extension master? Let's find out by checking if Bill's files are images or audio files. Please use regex if available natively for your language. The solution that I whipped up, I did not use regex. I just used JavaScript. You will create two string methods, is audio and is image. This one is matching one or plus uppercase, lowercase letters combinations possible with the extensions that. And so this is just kind of telling us pretty much what we're creating are two functions, and what we're doing is actually we're monkey patching it into like the string prototype, and we're going to create it on the string prototype. And so what's going to happen is when they run it is going to look like this, not a normal function where you might look at it like this. And so anyways, pretty much it's a validator. And so they're going to throw in a string, they're going to run is audio, and it's going to give us a true or false. And likewise, they're going to do an is image, and it's going to give us a true or false. And so that is our job to make sure that true or false happens correctly. And this whole direction is just giving us criteria on like kind of what are the rules. So before we even jump into it, we already know that there's going to be a lot of if-else statements involved in this. A lot of just like checking a condition. If it's false, then we're just going to spit out false. If it matches, then we're probably going to move on to the next condition and see if those are true or not. And so let's see. Note that this is not a generic image/audio files checker. It's meant to be a test for build files only. Bill does not like punctuation. He doesn't like numbers neither. Thus, his file names are letter only. Okay. That does not guarantee us that it is letters only. Is telling us make sure it's letters only. And so something like this down here, icon2.jpg, look at that, that's false. And so they set it up here for us very nicely, the rules. And so pretty much this is the bulk of what we're going to be creating our functions out of. And so here, let's take a look at this. It should return true or false simply. Makes sense because this is just a validator. File extensions should consist of lowercase letters and numbers only. So pretty much if we just take those, we should be good because that's what they gave us. File name should consist of letters only, uppercase, lowercase, or both. File name should consist of letters. Okay, so no numbers. Say the extension could have numbers like an MP3, but the file name itself, whatever goes before this dot, it does not have numbers, and it can be uppercase or lowercase. That does not matter. The file extension can only be lowercase. Okay, I think in terms of this number two, making sure of that's not a problem, especially since we have pretty much a list of exactly what it needs to be. And I know there are definitely more extensions for both audio and images, but we're not worrying about those. They gave us this, and this is all we need to worry about. So over here, let's take a look at this, what I did here. Pretty much it came with the string.prototype and this over here, that's just all my code. And what I did here was I try to make it as clean as possible, and the idea of kind of what I was trying to pull off here was really compartmentalizing these functions so that it can be as clean as possible. The two functions that are run are right here, the is audio and the is image, but as you can see, there's like a validator function that I'm running, a validator extension function that I'm running, and those are all down over here. And even within this, you could see that I'm doing a num check. And that's just down here. I broke that down even further. And so let's go ahead and walk through these, and we'll take a look at kind of what I did, why I did it, and why I thought it was a good idea to do what I did. And so, okay, first of all, let's look at the is audio. We know that we are given a specific set of extensions after the dot. And so what I did was I just created an array called extensions, EXTS. And because those are the only ones that I've ever worried about matching. This guy, Bill, does not do any other audio extensions, so we don't have to worry about anything else. And file split here, what I did was I took it on the period, and I split it. So that way I know that I can check the extension because that's that's the step that I need to do, and checking the name. And we know that those are kind of two distinct steps that we need to take because it was given to us right here. Number one was just kind of the idea of the whole thing. They wanted true or false. But number two, they say check the extension. And number three, they say check the name. So, they're giving us directions pretty clearly. Split this up. Don't try to tackle everything at once. Do one thing and then check the other. And so that's kind of exactly what I did that's kind of why I split it up into validator name and validator extension. And of course, I can do these within this entire prototype function, but I decided to create these helper methods because um, the second one is image, kind of is the same idea, same thing. We need to validate the name, we need to validate the extension, and therefore I thought, okay, I'm going to be writing the name validators twice, the extension validators twice, so why not split it out and use them as helper functions. And so let's take a look. Validator name pretty much is a function that validates the name. And so what I want inside this function as the argument is the name of the extension, or not the name of the extension, the name of the file. And so we get that by when we split it, we assume that there was only one period, and we took that front half, and the validator extension here, we take the back half. Because if you split it on the period, imagine something like this, nothing else matters.mp3. You split it on the period, what you're going to get is that's going to be the name now over here on file split, and everything behind it, mp3, is going to be the extension. And so let's go ahead and take a look at validator name first, which is right over here. And I did this, instead of using an if-else statement, I did a ternary. And so let's go over that. Validator name is just a function. It takes an extension name, and I should probably call that file name instead. That's probably a better name for a file name. And so definitely gonna have to change all of these. Cool. And so that makes more sense because extension name is like the MP3, FLAC, ALAC, whatever, however they're pronounced, but we're talking about the file name, whatever comes before the period. And so what happens is we split it on the space, and because we know that they only want numbers, they only want letters, uppercase or lowercase, doesn't matter. And thank goodness this guy does not throw in punctuations, but if he did, not a problem. We'd probably create another check, not num check, but like a punctuation check after we do the num check. Again, no need to try to tackle everything in one function. So what happens here is we check for any spaces. If there is a space, then this file name will be split into multiple things, which will then equal greater than 1. And so if it is greater than 1, we're just going to spit out false because that means you had a space in there. If you're checking a string, if you're splitting a string on a space and it doesn't have a space within it, it's just going to create you an array of just the length 1. And so we know that if it does fail it, it does the ternary right here. It checks, okay, we're going to return whatever this ternary returns. And so what does this ternary return? It checks if the length is greater than 1. If it's true, it's false, because if it's greater than 1, that means it had a space. If it's false, then okay, so far so good, we're going to go into the num check. And num check, kind of how you might already guess, is just checking if the file name has numbers. And remember, the extension could have numbers, but the file name can't. And so pretty much what happens down here is we're checking the string, whatever string we have, and we're going to go through every single character of that string and see is it a number or not. And so instead of creating an array of numbers and checking against it all, what I decided to do was I decided to parse int every single character. And so you already know this for statement is just iterating through every single character of the string. And this if statement parse int, if it's a string, then I believe that if it's a letter, it's going to give us not a number, and not a number is a falsy value, therefore it's going to be false. So if pretty much I get a false, then I'm going to return, if I parse into a letter, I'm going to get false. If I parse into number, I'm going to get a number. And I can already tell that this might be bad because if I parse int a 0, then that means that I'm going to get a falsy value because 0 happens to be a falsy value. Every other number is a truthy value. And so that's kind of what we're banking on right now. Um, so yeah, let me comment in here. Hope I don't get a 0. Because if I get a 0, then this will be falsy, but it won't do what I want it to do. And so I'm hoping that when I get a string and if it's a number, it'll be true. And so you know what? That's not what we want, so we return false. I know this is kind of weird the way I did it, but I need to have it go through every single character of the string and return true at the end. Therefore, I flipped the logic kind of right over here. Pretty much if it's a string, then I want it to just continue because it will be false. It'll skip the if statement and continue. If it's a if it's a string, if it's a letter, if it's a number, I want it to just spit out false, and it'll spit out false if it's a number because it'll actually jump into the if statement. Um, Pretty much, yeah. And so after the num check, what we're going to be doing is we're returning a true or false. And so if the num check return false, or pretty much whatever the numcheck returns, that's what we're going to be spitting out from this validator name, assuming that it had no spaces inside of it. And so once that spits out true or false, we're going to get here, is the name validated? If it has been validated, that's a true on this side, and we also need to get a true on this side, and that's why we did the AND um, operator here. And so the next thing we do, we're going to take a look at validator extension. And so what this one does is pretty much, you already guessed it, we're going to validate that back half of the file split and check it against the extensions. And so this validator extension right over here, we're going to use ternary again. And the structure of this, we take an extension, which is pretty much that back half, and extension array, which we're going to be throwing in there. And that extension array comes from here. We have the extension in each function. Is audio has the audio extensions, and is image has the image extensions, and we're going to be throwing that into this function. As you can see, we called them extensions, and we're going to be passing it through. And so despite what we get passed through, we're going to be checking against it here. We're going to check against the extension array, and we're going to be checking their index. If he is not there, then we're going to throw false. If he is in there, then we're going to throw true. And so that will tell us, okay, is the name validated? Yes. If the extension is also validated, yes. True and true, then we're going to be returning true. If either one of these are false, if the name was good but the extension was bad, then we're going to throw a false. If both of them are bad, then of course we're going to throw a false. And so the same idea, exact same idea for isImage, and that is the main reason why I decided to split these guys up, because they're just so similar. The only difference is the extensions. And, the names need to be kind of the same stuff. They have to be uppercase, lowercase, no numbers, no spaces, and no numbers, no spaces, whatever. Only the extensions are different. Therefore, it makes sense to do helper functions here, over here, and over here. Cool. And so, you know what? I'm thinking that was a pretty good explanation. I think that I could probably go into it deeper, but at this point, I feel like a lot of you might have already gotten it. If you didn't, then comment down below, and I could take some time to explain it to you through comments and stuff. But if not, you know what? Try rewinding the video. Try watching it one more time. I think the main thing here that we covered was, when and how and why it's good to use helper functions. We took a look at the ternary statements, which is not too hard to get. If you're having trouble with ternary, it's very useful. It saves a lot of space in terms of just making it look cleaner. So there's definitely a lot of explanation on that throughout the internet. So I think it's a useful skill to have. So if you went through this video without really understanding it, if you're leaving this video without fully understanding it, then I encourage you to go check it out. Google it or something, and try out some of this on your own. And once you try it out, you'll probably understand very quickly how it works, and that is very useful for most cases that are simple. Yeah, and you can't stack ternary against ternary, so it's just a useful thing to do. And so, yeah, if you guys have any more questions, just be sure to comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the other videos I have on this playlist. This playlist is just starting. Depending on when you're watching this video, it might have very few videos or a lot. But yeah, check out some of my other playlists too. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.